Someone named Jason asked me a question. How does what you're doing correct a subluxation? It was really interesting because I said, well, subluxation is interference in your nervous system. It changes the behavior of your body. It's damage basically to your spine. And he said, yeah, I know, but how does what you're doing actually change that? And I was like, oh, that's a good question. And it used to be on my website. Now I have a new website. It's not as clearly, laid out on there. So I'll explain just real quickly just how an adjustment works. And there are really three things to kind of understand the types of adjustments basically that I do. And there are lots of different things to do, but I'll explain these three things. And hopefully if you understand that, you'll kind of just get it a little bit, get an idea of what I'm doing. And the first thing is the behavior. So the behavior of the body and the alignment would be sort of the way that I'm going to look at it. So when you think of alignment, it's not like, I'm just going to take this, it's crooked, and then I'm just going to straighten it, and now it's straight. That's not the way your body works. What happens is your brain's always telling your body where to be. Okay, so there's a feedback loop, and it's always aware of what it's doing. And if you're out of alignment, it could be just one spinal segment, or it could be your shoulders, or it could be anything. If you're out of alignment, then your brain is misunderstanding what position it's in. So what we can do is, there are a lot of different techniques. I like to use the activator, which is, here we go, this. And you just tap on the spine. So what I'll do is just tap on the joint with this. It's got a little mechanism in it that actually taps, and that sends an impulse into the joint. It signals the brain, and then your brain actually realigns it. And how do I know that's working? It's because it works instantly. So as soon as I do that, I can see that it's gone back. And it actually works better than if I try to push it back. So if I push it back, it doesn't work as well. It could, but usually the reason it's doing that isn't because something's stuck, because it's not moving right. It's literally just because you're holding it there. So we have to almost trick your body into behaving a certain way. And I didn't invent these techniques. And it's not really tricking it, but it is kind of a trick. It does seem like magic when it happens, so that's the first thing. And we can actually do. So I've actually done on some occasions where I've done a posture screen, like a photograph right before the adjustment where they're tilted, 3 degrees, and then after where they're level, like literally 1 minute later. No exercises, nothing like that. It's just retraining kind of the behavior of the nervous system using an adjustment. And that doesn't last forever. If they're under stress, it'll go out again. But with each adjustment, it'll last longer and longer. It'll become more resilient. So that's the first way. The second thing is the movement. Now, the movement is actually kind of a little bit more what you'd think of. And that's where we're actually going and feeling each segment of the spine, which is exactly what I'm doing each and every time you're getting an adjustment. I'm starting down at your tailbone, feeling the movement of every single joint. If it's not moving properly, and if it's okay, depends on the person, I'll push on it a little bit and you might feel it crack. And it's all within the physiological range of motion. There is actually a misconception. It's not like a public misconception, but it's other professionals who will think that an adjustment goes beyond the physiologic range. But I think it's pretty well known now, maybe since 2005, they've sort of corrected that literature to say, no, okay, an adjustment's within the range of motion. It's just quick, and it does make a popping noise, which actually comes from air bubbles forming inside of a joint. That's why that happens. So that's the other thing is the movement. So oftentimes when you have a decreased range of motion, even a baby has a decreased range of motion or torticollis. It may be a combination of the actual nerves being irritated, causing it to do that. And it could be literally just bones that are stuck. Not usually. It's not usually the bones being stuck. At least they're not as stuck as they are in an adult, and there's no cracking like I was just doing. When I adjust a baby, there's no cracking. I use different techniques for that. So that's the other thing, is the movement. So we have the alignment and the movement that we're addressing. And those are the types of techniques that I use. The last thing is the tone, which is a little bit more complex. The nice thing about the movement and alignment is I could see the result right away. I have outcome measures, like I mentioned, the posture, and there are scans that we do, and we can measure to see if we're getting results over time. But also with each visit, there's actually, I can see whether it worked or not. I know that it worked. If it didn't work, I'll tell you. There are some cases where it's like, you know what, that didn't work. Let's do something else. But I would tell you if it didn't work. Otherwise, if I didn't say anything, that means everything worked just fine. So the tone is a little bit different. The tone is slower. It's actually looking at the sort of the deeper tension. And that usually I'm holding for a long time. And I don't check it right afterwards, because I'm not going to do it again because it just takes too long. So I'm going to do a tonal adjustment. I'm going to hold it for a while, and then I'm going to move on to the next things. And then I'm going to check it next time and see if it changed. Just because I can do that, because I'm going to see you again. And that's how I take care of people. And when I do that, when you're changing the behavior of the body and you're changing the movement, when you think about this, and this is interesting, this is the last thing. Here's the nerve root coming out of the spine. It only takes the weight of a dime on that nerve root to change its activity by 60%, to actually decrease the activity. I don't know how long. It's a dime for like a minute or two or something, let's say. That actually changes it. And you can imagine how light a dime is. Like if a dime was sitting on your leg, you wouldn't even notice it. But at the nerve root, there's actually no protection around the nerve where it comes out of the spine. So that's how easy that is for that to have interference. And if it's being rubbed, it'll make the muscle tighten. If it's being compressed, the muscle will get weaker. And if it's 60% weaker, well, you may not notice that. You could probably still do most of your activities every day, but you may not notice 60% weakness. You might, or maybe less than the weight of a dime, or maybe, but it's just, the point I'm getting at is it doesn't take much for a huge effect on your nervous system because of damage to your nervous system. So an adjustment can sometimes very quickly go a long way. All right. I hope you found that interesting. Bye.